Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 63 of Cool Talk Podcast. Here we are with another exciting yet spooky episode.
Hello everyone.
Pármida is here. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, the topic of this episode is Chernobyl. We're going to be talking about the Chernobyl disaster. And, Pármida is super ready to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. I've been crying my eyes out since morning. Yeah, thank you for inviting me for this horrific topic.
And thanks for showing up on such short notice.
Yeah, I'm so brave, you know. You made me watch those documentaries. I'm not going to forgive you ever.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Come on, Chernobyl. It is intriguing.
It is sad. Intriguing. I know it's intriguing if
yet sad.
Look at it like a documentary.
So there's this game called Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and the game was released around 2007. We used to play it. And there was a mission in the game where you go to Chernobyl.
I was just a lieutenant back then, doing some wet work. Chernobyl, Christmas for the bad guys. Even a decade later, a lot of them still used it to get their hands on nuclear material. A lot of them, including one, Imran Zakhaev. Of course, we couldn't just let that happen. Cash for spent fuel rods. That's one hell of a recipe for destruction. It was the first time our government had authorized an assassination order since the Second World War. I was under the command of Captain Macmillan.
There's this guy called Imran Zakhaev, and you are supposed to stop some sort of deal, which is sinister, and you and Captain Macmillan are responsible, for stopping the deal. And you just walk through every single building in the city of Pripyat.
Come on.
So Chernobyl power plant, CNPP, Chernobyl nuclear power plant, and where is it located? The city of Pripyat in Ukraine. So it is spooky.
It is spooky. Yeah, it is eerie.
It is eerie. Yeah, that's
a good word.
That's a cool word. Yeah, eerie. And
I don't like eerie.
I just found it super intriguing. I found it exciting. Boys, maybe boys are different in this regard. I found it exciting. I was like, wow, this is awesome.
We know it happened on April 26, 1986 in Chernobyl nuclear power plant in northern Ukraine.
CNPP, yeah.
Yeah. And it was the most devastating nuclear disaster the world has ever witnessed. So this is
one of the most compelling historical events the world has ever seen.
Yeah, you could say that. It's horrific.
It was horrific.
It was.
So April 26th, 1986.
Yeah, there was this safety test.
There was a safety test at at reactor number 4. Mm-hmm. There were 4 reactors, and they were all active. Yeah. And reactor number 4, I don't know if you guys have watched the HBO miniseries Chernobyl. If you have, I suppose you're familiar with the process. Mm-hmm. Of course, it wasn't that accurate. But, well,
nothing's that accurate when they turn it into a movie.
Yeah. No, I mean, they changed some parts.
Exactly, they have to.
And they lied. And, when it comes to some other parts, they did lie. For example, when it came to the description of Anatoly Dyatlov, the chief engineer, they lied big time.
Who was she? Was she the first person to die?
Anatoly Dyatlov, the guy who supervised the test.
I heard Natalie.
Natalie, because you haven't watched the series.
Yeah, I haven't watched the series. I'm going to confess.
So the guy who supervised the test, and he was depicted as the villain of the show, Natalie Dyatlov.
Is he the one who said there will be no explosions ever? He's the guy?
Yeah. The core of an RBMK reactor cannot explode. Mm-hmm. And you didn't see graphite on the ground because it's not there. That's actually one of the famous lines.
Seriously?
Yeah.
The firefighters said everywhere was...
That's how they depicted the man. That's how they depicted his character in the show. Mm. So I watched an interview with Anatoly Dyatlov, the real Natalie Dyatlov on YouTube a few days ago. And he is not the same Dyatlov we see in the HBO series. He's not the same person.
No, I haven't watched the series.
Yeah, he was a tough. He was a tough boss and everything, but he actually helped the personnel. He wanted to help everyone, and he was trying to figure out what went wrong. Anyway,
I don't have the capacity to watch such movies based on reality, like people suffered. Because I'll turn into a weepy, moist creature. You don't want to see me like that. What else have you got to tell us?
Well, pretty much a lot. Like so many different words and phrases that come to mind. Yeah. Especially if you're watching the HBO miniseries, or you're trying to learn a few things or read some articles regarding Chernobyl. There are a lot of things that come to mind. For example, contamination. Contamination is the noun, and the verb is
contaminate.
Contaminate. What's the opposite? Decontaminate.
Decontamination, removing the radioactive material, I think.
Radioactive material or fallout.
Or fallout,
That's another word you guys can learn when it comes to anything related to nuclear stuff, the fallout. So
first of all, this radioactive material is released into the atmosphere, and what happens next is it falls down on you.
It is brought down.
Exactly. So we call that fallout.
Yeah, it's fallout, radioactive particles, ionizing radiation that can basically kill you. Am I right?
You could say that.
So a huge area got contaminated. Everything, animals, the land, maybe even water. Not sure about
everything was contaminated, and everybody who was alive was evacuated.
Yeah, everybody was evacuated. Yeah. There's a 30-kilometer exclusion zone. Yeah. The exclusion zone, which is called the zone. Here's another thing I can refer to. There's this beautiful game called Stalker, Stalker series. Stalker
I haven't played that either.
Yeah. I recently finished playing the second game, Stalker 2. Actually, it's the third game in the franchise, but I don't know why they called it Stalker 2. Anyway, Stalker, Heart of Chernobyl. And everything happens in the exclusion zone. They added some other elements.
So you can see the abandoned buildings.
Everything.
The Ferris wheel is there.
Everything.
God, I mean, the Ferris wheel.
The Ferris wheel, yeah.
Gives me the creeps.
Yeah, the Ferris wheel was supposed to be opened a few days after the accident.
Aww.
Yeah, it was supposed to be open. So
it was supposed to be a fun
not a single kid,
place.
Not a single kid got on that Ferris wheel. Not a single kid.
What do you think?
Let's talk about ARS. Acute.
Okay, it was acute. Radiation sickness. Yeah.
So how does it happen? What is it?
When you're exposed to so much radiation for a long time, you'll get some symptoms like, I think, headaches, vomiting, and
skin blisters.
Skin blisters, yeah,
skin
you could
is
say
affected
that.
As well. Yeah.
It ruins your DNA.
It does. So it actually a lot depends on the dose. How much radiation you get. Yeah. And in the series, it says, well, we got a steady dose, but not a lot of it. So we're going to start showing symptoms in a few years, cancer or leukemia. But people who get a lot of radiation instantly, their symptoms are different. And most likely they're going to end up dead in a few weeks or maybe in a few months.
Yeah, something about all those firefighters and plant workers.
They all died, I suppose. Most of
them succumbed to those.
Yeah, because they got a lot of radiation. Yeah. They got a lot of ionizing radiation, which can kill you. Yeah. It damages the cells. It damages the DNA. It damages you,
like internally.
Yeah,
that's why. Nothing will be left.
At the most fundamental level, that's why radiation's such a spooky thing. That's why it's super scary, because it's not like TNT. It's not like a bomb. It's not like conventional warfare. Nothing you've ever seen. Nothing you've ever experienced. Not a lot of people actually have any idea
what it actually is.
Yeah, what radiation can do to your body. The explosion contaminated a large area. We already talked about it. The area today is called the Exclusion Zone.
The Exclusion Zone.
Yeah, و reference به بازی استاکر هم داریم. So it's a beautiful game. اگه ژانر چرنوبیل و یه مقدار ترس و اینا هم دوست دارید، Stalker, Heart of Chernobyl. تازه اومده برای پلتفرم Xbox and PC.
As long as it's fiction, I can enjoy it.
Yeah, it is. But you got bloodsuckers, vampires, a lot of mutants. Oh, mutants. And mutation. Care to explain?
So when your genes change, you turn into something else.
Yeah.
You could call that mutation.
Mutations. یادم میاد معلمای زیست شناسی میگفتن موتاسیون.
Really?
Yeah. بعضیشون اینو میگفت فکر کنم تلفظ فرانسویش بود. Anyway, mutation or جهش ژنتیکی. Exactly. Like babies being born with like
2 heads, 4 arms,
two
and
heads, 4 arms, exactly.
no hair.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the symptoms of.
And it doesn't only happen to people; it happens to animals as well.
To animals.
So the animals living there. Well, first of all, surprisingly, the wildlife is returning to that exclusion zone there. The absence of human activity is helping.
Yeah, apparently the absence of human.
There are genetic mutations there, genetic deformities, and something called albinism.
Super exciting. I just loved reading all about this. Did you know, in their attempts to put out the fire, they dropped like 600 helicopter pilots were involved in the process of dropping boron and sand.
Yeah.
On the core, on the open core. And it is shown in the series that one of those pilots actually loses consciousness because of radiation or whatever it was. The actual thing happens 6 months later. Yeah, not instantly, but in the
I think
series.
it took a really long time for them to contain this radiation.
It did.
So as you said,
they have used all the boron and sand. Actually, they have used all the boron in the Soviet Union. For that matter. Yeah, they used everything they had to put out the fire.
Why did they have to do the test in the first place?
Because they had to. Every power plant has to run some certain tests. And this one was supposed to prove that the turbines, the generators, can produce enough electricity in case there's a power outage in the plant itself.
Yeah.
So they wanted to measure that out. But a test is only as good as the people carrying it.
Yeah, they said they had poor communication and there was a faulty reactor design, something like that. And one thing led to another.
Well, basically,
so many mistakes were made. So that's the thing.
So the narrative in the show, in the miniseries, is Natalie Dyatlov and a bunch of other people were responsible. Mostly Dyatlov was responsible because he had an irresponsible approach. He just wanted the test done. He just wanted those people. He wanted to use the people in the night shift who were inexperienced. So, but the thing is, apparently, they had no idea what was happening in the control room.
They were supposed to do it during the day.
Yeah, there's this button called AZ5, and they just pushed it because they thought this is going to help shut down the reactor. But it didn't, and that's where everyone held the Soviet Union accountable. Because they knew about the defect, the reactor design, but they never let anyone know. توی جلسه ترایالی که توی همون مینی سیریز هم نشون میده یه جمله خیلی قشنگی داره. والری لگاسوف میگه که البته اینم یکی از همون جاهایی که در واقع مینی سیریز دروغ میگه. لگاسوف اصلا نرفت به اون جلسه و شرکت نکرد اونجا. اما توی مینی سیریز این رو نشون دادن به خاطر اینکه می‌خواستن دراماتیزه کنن تا جایی که میتونستن. All right, so I think we already talked about mutation. We talked about nuclear reactor. What is a reactor exactly? I suppose you guys already know what a reactor is if you have
reactor is reactor.
Even if you have the tiniest amount of interest in Chernobyl, but well, a reactor that's your definition.
Something that reacts.
So no, it's a device.
I know.
It's okay. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I don't want to.
So a reactor is a device that allows you to harness the power of nuclear energy, basically harness the power of atoms, uranium atoms mostly. They're put inside the core of the reactor as fuel, and it fission. We got fission in there. که خودش هم دوباره توضیح دیگه میطلبه. شکافت هسته‌ای. And well, that generates enough heat, and the heat will turn water into steam, and the steam turns the generator.
We can also talk about that massive steel structure that was built to contain the radioactivity.
What was it called?
It was New Safe Confinement.
Yeah, New Safe Confinement.
Yeah.
قبل از اون هم یه دونه دیگه ساخته بودن خیلی قبل‌تر به اسم The Sarcophagus.
I didn't know anything about that.
Sarcophagus. این مقبره ها و اون یه جور تابوت های سنگی که مثلا برای پادشاه های قدیمی ساختن مثلا فرعون مصر. Sarcophagus. و این چیزی که اونا اول ساختن و گذاشتن روی reactor number 4, it was called a sarcophagus. It was made of steel, I suppose, and concrete. And it was supposed to stop the spread of radioactive material. But over time, it fell apart. It fell apart, and that's why they had to create that whole arc thing, which cost them around $2 billion. Super
they
expensive.
say it's going to contain the radioactivity, the radiation for
at least 100 years.
100 years, yeah.
Yeah, for at least 100 years. So I got one more. They said Chernobyl acted as a wake-up call for the nuclear industry. It was a wake-up call.
Exactly.
They started revising all those safety regulations and everything in order to make nuclear power plants much safer.
Yeah, we need to know how dangerous nuclear energy can be.
Yeah. And all those RBMK reactors were somehow retrofitted. They acknowledged the flaws and they did their best to fix them. And Larry Legasov, the guy, one of the engineers, one of the people responsible for containing the damage and stopping the spread of radioactive materials. He is beautifully depicted in the series. So anyway, he killed himself, and that somehow
He must have been under so much pressure. Nobody kills himself like that.
And that somehow forced Soviet officials to acknowledge, the defects in the design. So anyway, if you guys like anything about Chernobyl, I got a few suggestions. If you're gamers, you can play Stalker, Heart of Chernobyl, and also Call of Duty. نسخه اول Modern Warfare نسخه نسبتا قدیمیشه سال 2007 یا 8 اومد بیرون. And there is a beautiful mission in Pripyat. It's just fantastic.
I'm not a gamer.
It is fantastic. So yeah,
it's not for me.
So that's for gamers. Stalker هم که تازه اومده بیرون and I just finished playing it. It's awesome. And if you guys are interested, there are lots and lots of documentaries on YouTube. You can type Chernobyl and you can find those documentaries. We got some people. Actually, the zone is not as dangerous as it once was. So you got tourists.
Exactly.
Yeah, people, they take people on tours of Chernobyl.
People who are fascinated by its history go there.
من از اول اپیزود دارم دوباره میگردم. Fascination. I'm fascinated by Chernobyl and the history of everything.
You are fascinated by it.
I am fascinated.
I'm not going to go there ever.
Oh, it is fascinating. So I wish I could go there. It's beautiful. So a lot of people go there, and it's just those abandoned buildings, the rooms.
The Ferris wheel.
Yeah, everything is still there. The clothes, the books, household equipment.
They say it looks eerie, but it's also a natural reserve. You can see all the wildlife.
Yeah. All right, so thank you so much for watching this episode on YouTube and listening to it on Castbox. You can follow us on 3 different platforms, YouTube, Castbox, and Instagram. Do let us know what you think in the comment section down below. I want to know what your opinion is regarding this whole Chernobyl thing, how fascinating it might be to some people and how scary and maybe disgusting it might be to some others. Párمیda, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here on
I
the show.
actually had fun.
I'm glad to hear that. I am glad to hear that.
The topic was scary, seriously.
Yeah. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Alionik Sart here, signing out.